Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this exciting episode of Two Shot Tuesday. Barry, it's our 11th episode available on YouTube and our 250-something episode available everywhere you get your podcasts. Have you been checking out Two Shot Tuesday where you get your podcast, Barry?
Yeah, I sure have. I never miss a week.
Nice.
So I'm happy to support the show.
What's your preferred way of consuming podcasts for our listeners?
Well, of late, it's been watching them, but
Of late.
Yeah, of late. But, I'm happy to listen to. I mean, I'm not kind of married to one or the other. It depends on the situation, right?
Talk to me about what helps you come up with that situation. I've leapt right into the hard questions for the day here before we even have gotten into our first shot.
Right. Well, I guess it depends. If I'm like at the office and I'm working, it will not be a video component because then that is just way too obvious that I am doing something else in addition to my regular duties. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do like watching them on the big screen. I got the Spotify app on my TV, as you do as well. That's one of the things about the Sony flagships. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm
happy to do either one. There's no stake in the ground. Today is the day I must watch it versus listening. What about you?
I listen to my podcast because I'm usually working out, walking, cooking at home.
Nice.
Those are kind of the three areas where I'm listening to podcasts. And so video, I find, just doesn't work for me because I can't stop myself to kind of watch and see what's being held up or whatever they're showing. So my preferred method is listening to podcasts, although it's video podcasts that are taking off. So I am in the minority. You kind of straddle the line of both. And I think it kind of comes and goes. But I'm surprised people can stay glued to a screen. Maybe they don't stay glued, but they just like the option maybe of glancing down and seeing when there's a visual component, which there very well may be in this show. I don't know. We'll find out.
There could be. Well, before we go any further, let's have our first shot of the evening, Jay. This is a non-alcoholic, sober show for yours truly. I just finished a big workout, so I am beginning with some protein from our friends at Lift the City Supplements.
And it's Limitless Pharma, I know.
Yep, exactly.
What flavor have you got? Always the same, right?
Yeah, it's peanut butter chocolate.
Nice. Stick with what you love. I am going back to a classic. I am doing a classic lemon squeezy in a nice shakeable container. And that's in your honor. Along with your sober show, it'll be my sober show.
Here's to you, Jay.
Cheers. All right, Barry, what have you got for us today that you want to get off your chest, or would you like me to kick off?
Well, I can provide a quick review of a concert that I went to about 4 or 5 days ago. I was fortunate enough to see the surviving members of the Pogues. You may know them. They put Irish music on the map, and they appeared at History along with like a 10-piece orchestra. I mean, they had a harp on stage. They had a piano. They had a horn section and an enormous, it was like a bass drum on steroids. I've never seen a drum as large as this. That was also there. Yeah.
A notable drum that big that you've made note of it.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, what is that? And Chris was like, I think it's some kind of bass drum, but it was like enormous. Anyway, it was a really great time. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. They sang Rum Sodomy and the Lash, start to finish, which is the 40th anniversary of that record being released. Came out in 1985. Because the singer, Shane MacGowan, has passed on, Spider Stacy, who was one of the original members and did take over the singing duties back in the day when Shane's drinking, kind of sidelined him as the front man from the band. So it sounded fantastic, but there were other people that also sang a couple of songs. There was a gal that came as part of the tour. So she sang, one of their most popular tracks, and it was fantastic. It really was. Great vibe. Funny though, you look around, it was just, it's the joke of many concerts is it's stuff white people like. So if you want to see a bunch of white people, they were all at the Pogue show.
Yeah.
Just because it's an Irish band. I mean, it makes sense. But we did see some younger people there, and I was happy to see that, like Gen Z age people getting exposed to the Pogues. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool because this band is, they're not exactly releasing new stuff. This was sort of like a victory lap tour for them to commemorate one of their biggest records ever. And it was really a lot of fun. Very professional. The other cool thing at History, I guess this was at the behest of the band, they didn't stop serving alcohol until the very last song. Until they walked off stage, then the bars closed. which is unusual. So usually they have a cutoff time, but they said this time, no, we are serving until the band leaves the stage, and that was their request. Pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long was the show? How long did they play?
Ooh, I would say an hour and a half. There was an opener as well, but the Pogues were about an hour and a half, maybe a touch less than that. It's really hard to tell when you're kind of in the moment. It was like one giant sing along, Jay. There were so many songs that everyone knew the lyrics to. It was really cool. It was like a preview of like St. Patrick's Day kind of thing. It was great. And I
Yeah,
did decide to pick up a shirt. This was one of those.
of
I
course.
knew that
You
this
love
is going to be
merch.
well, but also when it's I think this is going to be a one and done. I can't see them returning to Toronto. Maybe they'll do some, shows in the UK, but I really feel like this is kind of like a one and done opportunity. So I stood in line, got a shirt, very happy with it, and something I can wear for future St. Patrick's Days.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Now, you were saying the lead singer, the former lead singer, passed away
that's right.
and has been out of the band for some time before even passing away.
Yes.
Had he tried to come back at all, or when he was gone, he was gone?
I believe when he was gone, like I don't know the full history, but he unfortunately was in the grips of addiction that sidelined him, and he really wasn't able to fulfill the duties of a frontman. So even if he wanted to come back, I think he was just in the grips of addiction to the point where it, didn't allow him to return in any meaningful
Right.
way. But thankfully, they had another guy, like I said, Spider Stacy, who took over the singing duties, and he sounds very similar to Shane. And in one of the songs, "Pair of Brown Eyes," he sang that, and it was just like, man, it just sounded amazing, and it sounded like the original guy. It was really cool, and there were a few times where Chris and I both were yeah, a little misty at some of these songs being performed live
Really?
because I'd never heard them in any other form, right? I'd only ever heard them MP3 or CD, but seeing anything performed live, especially when it's that iconic of a song, these Irish standards that many people know, when you see them perform live, it's really another thing altogether. It's kind of a
Now,
transcendent experience.
were
Yeah, it
you
was cool.
both kind of standing there with your lips quivering at the same time, or did the waves come on you at separate times? How did you handle that? I'm
Well,
curious.
my focus was primarily on the
Yeah.
performance, but you'd look over. I don't know exactly whose lip quivered first, but this is a question for Chris when we see him in a couple of weeks.
And
I'll
we
be sure to
will.
mention
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we
Well,
will.
he's approaching his 50th birthday. He's moving
Totally.
into that emotional type. You saw the whiskey overtake me last week. It was
Absolutely.
quite a bit. And so if Pogue's music overtakes you, then you know what? That's fair. That is fair, sir.
Thank you.
I think we need to do shot number 2 of our
I think
sober
we do.
show before we get too emotional here ourselves. And I'm going back to the lemon squeezy. What have you got?
Cool. I'm sticking with the post-workout protein. Our friends Lift the City supplements.
All
Cheers.
right. Cheers. Before we get into, and we're going to do a rip from the headlines, I have
Sure.
got a review I want to do, and I am going to show something for those tuning in on video.
Yeah.
I want you to check this out here.
Ooh.
It
Okay.
is
What am I looking at, Jay?
you're looking at the Spawn Origins Deluxe Hardcover Edition.
Mm-hmm.
This is volume 5. I just picked up volume 8, so I'm a little behind in my reading. This collects the classic Todd McFarlane in 1992. This was the second Image comic released from Image Comics. It means nothing to you. To some of our listeners, you will understand this. Todd McFarlane, one of the top Spider-Man artists of all time. He
Mm-hmm.
sort of created the Spider-Man look. I've got his original art book at the Mini Mansion that you've seen. I actually showed it to DJ Teenage Werewolf when he was here. I'll show it to you in more detail.
Yeah.
It's showing his actual pencils. Anyway, he broke away. He and some top creators in 1991, 92 left to start their own comic label called Image Comics. And since then, Spawn has been continually published to this day. So there are now almost 400 issues of Spawn. And so I've decided it's not the greatest series of all time. He only drew maybe the first not even 20 issues, but
Really?
it's got this kind of fun artwork style that just brings me back to the 90s. It's pure nostalgia for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can devour it. Like I'm enjoying it. I think I read like 3 issues on the weekend, and I'll just continue to kind of move my way through it. And it's a fun book. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make a whole lot of sense. It's not like it seems like it's a bit overwritten. He's a writer. He's writing a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound like I'm slagging on it, but I actually really do quite enjoy it. It's just a lot of fun. It's not, like I said, the best thing. There's typos in some of the issues, so a little bit
Really?
lax on the editorial side of it, some
Huh.
incorrect uses of punctuation and things like that. But again,
Wow.
it's a fun comic. Spawn, you're familiar with the movie, the failed movie of 1997 starring Michael
I've
J.
heard of it.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Never
which is
watched it.
coming out in a 4K release that I may
Yes, it
add.
is.
And
And it's a super deluxe release, if I recall, that includes the lobby cards, the poster, the
yes,
bound booklet. It's
yeah,
Arrow Films putting it out. So
yeah,
yeah.
Spawn is a very the first issues that I did read, and I kinda came back to it a bunch of times, it was always it's a military guy, he was killed, he's trying to get back to his wife, there's a lot of that, they drag out this trying to get back to his wife's story, but he becomes an agent of hell, and in this war between heaven and hell that I'm now at issue 115 is still continuing, it's sort of sidelined a few times, he's become the
Hmm.
lord of hell. There's all these other stories he ends up going across. He's solving some kind of crimes. It basically is an excuse to kind of tell any kind of story that they want. But I
Sure.
admire the creativity. Some incredible artwork from himself. A guy named Greg Capullo. Angel Medina is the artist of this one, all sticking to a certain style, and it's okay, and I quite enjoy it. So that's Spawn, and I'll keep our listeners and viewers up to date as I work my way through this very slowly.
Yeah. Sounds good. So are you any closer to adding the film to your library to kind of like add
It's
to your Spawn family? Is that something you're thinking of doing now or
It's not out yet. It's will be out at some point. I can't even pre-order it. It's not available for pre-order. But if it
really?
was, I might quickly snap that up. There was an HBO series which I did enjoy in the 90s
Hmm.
that came out ran 3 seasons. And it was an animated one, so it was really good.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's Spawn. So check out Spawn, some comfort food for the comics lover in you that wants to enjoy some 90s nostalgic. That's when it was all about the artist in the 90s. Writers took a back seat to the artists and
Yeah.
their crazy ideas. That's when characters like Deadpool were birthed,
Hmm.
Cable, a lot of these other big characters.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about that more on another episode. What
Please.
I do want to do now,
Hmm.
because you sent them over, is let's get ripped from the headlines. Our audience loves that. Loves
Hmm.
it. All right. I'm going to pick one at
Yeah,
random.
it's kind of
Let me
fun.
scroll through. I'm going to pick number 3. Aha, here we go. Here it is, ripped from the headlines, Barry.
Okay.
Oxford Video Game Exhibition explores storytelling.
Yes.
All right,
Now, you and I are not
Oxford.
gamers
Not at
necessarily.
all. Not at all.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
But I do know people, and you do as well, that are very much into gaming. And I guess this is about where it is today versus, like the original Nintendo games were pretty standard stories. But now you have these fully immersive worlds. You even have
Yeah.
VR headsets where you can be a character. I mean, Rob Peets, our movie guy, could certainly speak to this. I mean, he's very much
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
gamer and has a VR headset and is into all this kind of stuff. I guess they're making a big push, and some people think that this is, a direct a competitor to Hollywood. Is these really super immersive video games that are just, sucking people in versus them going to the theater. What do you think about that?
I could see that. And you got a lot out of the headline. So thank you for that. I could
Yeah,
actually see that happening because people are kind of craving that immersive experience. A lot of people aren't going out to bars and clubs and all that. They want kind of a different experience. And a lot of the people are maybe not hanging out with friends as much. So they want to, from the comfort of their own home, have this kind of interesting experience and be a part of the story. I think that's also
yeah,
part of this whole YouTube movement. We host a podcast. People want to be the stars of their own stories and
for
but
sure.
but get away from real life. It's not like go to the office video game. This is
No,
you know,
yeah,
so I think absolutely it's a huge business. We should actually maybe get Rob to touch on it if you wouldn't mind when he comes back in a few weeks to do. I know you guys are going to review an upcoming film, and he
and not
can
just
talk.
any upcoming film, Jay,
I
but
forget
the
the name of
newest
it.
the newest film from Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's called One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean
Oh yeah,
Penn,
okay.
and many others, and it looks insane. Apparently, the first 30 minutes of this movie has more action, Jay, than P.T. Anderson's entire filmography combined.
Is that a lot? Would
That is
that
a
be a
lot.
lot? Because does he
Yeah.
do a lot of action?
Well, that's the thing. I guess it pops up. Like there was action in Boogie Nights. There was some action in Magnolia. Not necessarily
A little.
gunplay, but
Yeah,
this is apparently like there's so much going on in the first 30 minutes. It's almost too much
that's
to
funny.
digest.
It's going to feel like an action movie.
It's going to feel like, at least for the first
Okay.
30. Now, I understand the runtime kind of spooked you a little bit, and rightly so. This thing
Yeah.
is coming in at 3 hours long. So I don't know what has been cut out, if anything, but, with P.T. Anderson, you know, he's,
I
I
I
don't
would
know
love
how to explain it. He tells a full story. Let's just say that. He just lets it unfold. And apparently
Yep.
it's getting amazing reviews.
I enjoy watching one of his movies on DVD, like to where I can pause 30 times and take a break. Okay, we wandered a bit off of that topic for a bit, so let's bring us back with one more ripped from the headlines. All right,
Let's
I think
do
we
it.
got to the bottom of that first one, as we say. How about this? The shortcut to close bonds, asking meaningful questions.
Mm.
Barry. All right,
Something you and I both
something
know.
about this.
And as do you, not just as a podcaster, but just as a well calibrated human being who understands that every interaction is not a TED talk. In fact,
Yeah.
it's a back and forth. It is a dance. That's how you get to create meaningful bonds.
This one hits you a bit different. Explain that to me. You really see the value in a good back and forth.
I do. And in fact, it's one of it's kind of a pet peeve for those who do not do that and just simply talk at you.
Yeah.
I find that irritating. I got to be honest with you. So that's why I enjoy the company of yourself and other people that I know where, you can actually have a back and forth conversation. But there are people as well who just kind of launch into long stories, and maybe that's how they discover new things about people. I don't know. That's not my
Yeah.
preferred style.
Well, I'll launch into no stories given half a chance. You bring it out in me, and you and our other, we had Craig Zavitz on. I marvel at the way the two of you in particular ask incredible questions in a social setting. You'll both find the people you are both the center of attention. And I can study the questions that are asked because I don't ask a lot and I don't know what to ask. They don't come to me, but to you, they seem to come from the heavens. Craig also has this gift where they'll just
He
come and they'll
does.
be
He's very
great
good.
open-ended questions.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is definitely a skill that Craig has. I would also say the same thing about executive producer Aldo Roma, as
Yes.
also an expert in asking thoughtful, intelligent questions and not just waiting for his turn to start talking. Actually has an interest in the answer, which is another thing that I don't know whether you can teach this stuff, Jay, or whether it's just kind of part of you, or maybe it is teachable, but
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think, yeah, it's definitely a part of you to be able to be wired that way, to think that way. It's incredible. Anyway, again, another one we got to the bottom of. You've got to ask meaningful questions. Maybe you want to write some down ahead of time if you're like me and they don't come to you instantly. Or just stand next to Barry T. Nixon or Craig Zavitz in a room.
I mean, you could do that, Jay. I will say though, you do ask good questions, so I don't think don't sell yourself short. Maybe they don't come to you like a lightning bolt, but you do ask questions. You don't just launch into stories that about
Yeah.
people that the other parties might not even know and therefore don't really care about. So you don't
That's
do that.
true.
Which
That's
thank
true.
you for that.
Yes, I don't like talking about myself too much. I think that's true. And so I will ask questions in a way to get the attention off of me and onto somebody else. For example, what would you like to say next? Because I think we're coming up on time.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think
called
we
a
are.
leading question.
That's amazing. It's been a complete pleasure, as always, Jay, to be with you each and every week. And listeners and viewers, thanks for joining us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We will be with you each and every week. So we thank you for your support.
Thank you. Have a great week. See you next week. Thank you for listening to Two Shot Tuesday. The show is produced by Barry and I and edited by me. If you have yet to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, please take a second to do so now. It helps us grow, and it helps new audiences to find the show. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Two Shot Tuesday, and on Twitter at Two Shot Tuesday Podcast. Stop by, give us a follow, leave us a comment, and share your favorite episodes. If you have a question you'd like featured on the show, you can send us a text at 647-486-4848. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.